Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Brooks, and today I'll be sharing Executive Order 14168, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring truth to the federal government. Now, the purpose of this presentation is to share both sides of the argument and give each side an opportunity to share their steelman arguments on both sides of the aisle. Now, the United States has a long history of extending federal protections towards marginalized groups. This started with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, preventing workplace discrimination. Now, in 2020, the Supreme Court ruled that Title VII also includes gender identity and sexual orientation through the case of Bostock v. Clayton County. Thus, on the first day of Joseph Biden's presidency, Executive Order 13988 was signed that extended this protection into all federal agencies and their contractors. Now, Executive Order 14168, enacted in 2025 by Donald Trump, completely revokes Executive Order 13988 and requires all federal agencies to only recognize two sexes, male and female. Further, it eliminates the federal recognition of transgender individuals and strips their protections and compliancy standards for gender identity and sexual orientation. Now, proponents of this argument basically state that this will lead to fairness in women's sports, and that's why it's so important. Proponents do not like the idea of having transgender individuals take part in women's sports. And some of their arguments are very valid. Dr. Michael J. Joyner from the Mayo Clinic um, forth some really interesting research that speaks about the different um, ways in which biological males outperform females in strength, speed, and endurance, and how these differences are even evident prior to puberty. Now, with this, it makes a very valid argument that even with puberty blockers, these individuals would have a distinct advantage within women's sports, and thus it's unfair. Further, the work of Dr. Emma N. Hilton from the University of Manchester put forth some research that states that testosterone effects from puberty persistent hormone therapy. So essentially, if you have testosterone blockers, even for a year, you're still going to see distinct advantages for trans women uh, within muscle mass, bone density, and endurance. Now, the con argument basically states that this executive order disinherits transgender individuals of their civil rights. It removes gender affirming healthcare, completely changes the way that identification documents must be done and looked at, and takes away federal employment protections as well. However, the major concern is with prison placement. See, with the federal reclassification of gender, transgender women in women's prisons are no longer female. They are considered male, and thus subject to great harm within men's prisons. Dr. Jennifer L. Levy states that trans women placed in men's prisons are likely to face extreme violence and likely death, an extreme form of discrimination. Further, the APA states, like some other American institutions, that this discrimination will harm the mental health of transgender individuals. In conclusion, I think prioritizing the human rights of individuals is a stronger argument than just stating solely on sports inclusion or exclusion. Personally, I can think of one case that's currently undergoing. A friend of mine, Ariel, who's a transgender Navy technician with 8 years of service, has served her country valiantly, making the ships of America's Navy float and ensuring that they get to where they need to go. However, as of June of 2025, she is subject to dismissal because of Order 14168, solely based on her gender identity. I think that this reflects broader risks such as job loss, social instability, and further exclusion for an already marginalized community. And thus, it has no place in our society. These are the references I have used for my research in this paper. Thank you so much.